Hello everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Holland Land Office Museum's Artifact video series. My name is Ryan Duffy and I'm the director of the museum. And this week we're going to talk about a particular important location in LeRoy, New York, and one that was a product of the growth and prosperity of the community, but also the evolution of technology in the early part of the 20th century. So we're going to talk about the LeRoy Airport and its history going back over 100 years in terms of the interest in aviation, beginning with the Woodward family and growing from there, and the airport is still in continued operation to this day. The fascination with aviation in LeRoy has its beginning on August 14, 1919, when Donald Woodward first flew from Rochester to LeRoy in a plane piloted and landed on the George McCall farm, which was south of the village. And later in the day, he flew back to Rochester. So he was the first LeRoy native to arrive and depart from the community. In the early 1920s, interest in aviation grew, and two such planes were stationed at the Gayton farm south of the village. And these are the planes that gave LeRoyans their first bird's eye view of the community, and increased the interest in aviation. 2 years later, Randy and Wilder Enslow arrived in the community and made use of part of the LeRoy Golf Course as a landing field, and they carried passengers and gave flight instructions, and in their old J1 Standard, which had been souped up to carry 4 passengers at a time. The Woodwards brought a deeper interest, especially that they would travel from Florida when they were wintering back to LeRoy and making use of air travel. On February 21st, 1928, he purchased a Fairchild monoplane and hired Captain Russell Holderman as his private pilot. And when he got home, he converted 150 acres of his farmland for use as an airport and constructed a large cement block hangar adjacent to Asbury Road to provide as an office, shop, school, and storage facilities. That same year, the D&W Flying Service was organized to operate the new airport and flying school, and a total of 14 planes were acquired. And a roster of pilots and mechanics was also added. On June 17th of 1928, Amelia Earhart, accompanied by Lewis Gordon and Wilmer Stoltz, became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean, and in her plane named the Friendship. About a week later, Donald Woodward purchased the plane and had it shipped to the United States and was retooled to become the flagship of the D&W fleet, which would fly from New York City to LeRoy. Later, a glider school was established with an instructor from California to head it. However, during the Great Depression in the 1930s, the business took a major downturn across the board, and finally in 1938, the Woodwards terminated all financial support to it, though it hung on for a few years under Captain Holderman. But during World War II, the field was used for training of flying cadets for military services. After the D&W Airport ceased to be, it was run by Frank Bickford, who also built a strip on his land, and in 1940 started a flying club. Though it would only last a short time, and after Mr. Bickford's death, the field was taken over by 3-Star Aviation, who then had to shut down in the late 1970s, though the LeRoy Airport still operates to this day. Well, I hope you enjoyed this edition of our Artifact video series and learned a little bit more about the LeRoy Airport and its history going back 100 years. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up or even subscribe to the channel, as it does help us out a little bit and get you notified even quicker when we do release new material. Be sure to go check out any of our other videos in the Artifact video series, as we're getting close to that 150 video mark. And check out all the other videos that we have on our channel, including our guest speaker and concert series. But as always, the best way to learn more about what we have here at the museum is to stop by and see for yourself, and we'll be happy to share even more information, and you can see the artifacts up close and personal. And if you're interested in supporting the museum in other ways, the best way to do that is to become a member of the museum, and it helps That support helps us create more content like the Artifact video series, as well as other programming.